Filmmaker Markus and Zizenbacher. Hi, thank you.
I also introduce, please, Ava, the lead animation, Richard, please also applause for Ava, Richard Marcel, Zizenbacher, she's also, you can all come up right here. Please also applause to them. Of course, without those people, this film would be great. And, yeah.
So I got a good question first, is did Shaggy really go to high school for love?
Well, I'm not reading coffee seeds, or what's it say?
What's that?
I'm not reading the...
Oh yes, of course, yeah. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. I think that actually makes it more interesting.
Yes.
Yes, he certainly did go to high school for love. One question I kind of have for everybody here is, more than just sort of like, how did you meet Shandy, but sort of what was your first impression?
Well, yeah, I was working, it was 2019, I was in Paris working in a hostel and lived with a fashion designer, and she was all going to those parties, and yeah, one night I came with her, and the Chelseas were doing a big show in the Palais de Tokyo actually, and they had all those groupies that were helping them, and Charlie was one of them, and so this was back in 2007, and we were at this party, and Sean was like this Krusty the Clown appearance in this flamboyant Parisian apartment, and I don't know, I was lost in the city, you know, straight white boy, and Shawnee just got hooked.
Just a style.
Yeah, so, exactly, it was a match. Yeah.
First impressions of Shandy, let me hear it.
Wow, okay. Sometime in the late 80s, I distinctly remember this one evening. I probably had seen him a few times, but there was a club called Condolet House on Sunset Boulevard over by the Children's Hospital that housed a night called 1970. Early in the 80s, Billy Limbo decided to keep the 1970s alive by starting a club called 1970s in like 1984. We were not over it. And every night, on Sunday night, it was disco and 70s, start to finish. It was incredible, the most amazing evening. And one time I remember Sean DELEAR just on his little huffy bike with a sissy bar, and he had champagne flutes wired in his hair. And I didn't really understand how it was humanly possible that you could make champagne flutes wired in your hair and it wouldn't fall. And I just saw him right away on his little bike that night up in Sunset Boulevard, and that was really like my first like, oh, who the fuck is that moment.
Well, I met Shandy through Mike, who was also in the film, and I lived around the corner from Shandy in Echo Park on the Delta Street. And being in the band scene then, I had seen Glue, and Shandy would come to my bands, and he would just invite me over. And, you know, him and Mike were growing weed, so it's like roll joints, listen to records, hang out. And he was just a really open trickster character, which there was a lot of back then. And he just really had this light that, you know, I'll just never forget. So he was a pretty awesome person.
First impressions?
Yes.
I first saw him on the bus. We pieced together that both our cars were in the shop, and but we weren't really friends until the 90s. I hadn't seen him out at clubs and Jabberjaw and things like that, but he was always, you know, center of attention, and I was shy. I usually went to clubs alone, and but then I saw him like in the early 90s. He was at every show I'd been to, like 5 nights in a row, and we were at an extra fancy show in Spaceland, and he came up to me and he said, "We obviously should be friends. Hi, I'm Sean DELEAR, and I'm in this band Glue. I sing sort of. You'll see, you know, the way I laugh." So that's when I think of him, I just think of that. you know, that twirl is so unmistakable. So anyway, that's the angel.
One of the other times I have to say, because he talks about the halo, one of my other earliest memories is Chandelier getting in his car with a halo on. He would go out no matter what with that metal fucking cage on his side. And he would have to duck into the car and hold his lean forward in the steering wheel so that the metal wouldn't go further into his head. It was quite phenomenal to see a human being with such nightlife conviction going out at all costs with a halo, metal halo on his head.
So I have a question for Markus. How did you come to sort of acquire all of these videotapes? And I'm also wondering if he ever expressed what he wanted to ultimately do with them, because they go back, decades.
Yeah, I mean, he there's also a little bit teased in the film that he sent when he left his house in LA. He boxed everything, like literally everything, and sent it to Vienna. And during that time, I was assisting at a theater play where he was playing in, where during that time he got sick. So he had very quickly go back to Vienna, or to Munich. And during the time the shipping went on, and he passed in September 2017, and his 50 whatever removal boxes with records, dresses, invoices from the 90s, and videos, photos, and everything arrived 2 months after his death, and ended up in my room because there was no place to put it, and I was sitting on his stuff then because we were close, of course, obviously, and to come back to the other question, so that's how I got all that stuff. But during the time he was alive, like especially the last year, he was archiving a lot of his the footage that's also in the film, but like really pointing out what happened when, and he wanted to put it together to glue kind of, you know, revival thing, of course. Plus, he wanted to write his memoir, and I got him to actually introduce him to an editor who would have worked together with him. And yeah, but that never processed actually or advanced. And so then Caesar also, shortly after he passed, Caesar found this one 1979 diary in his belongings, and yeah, so that was kind of all hidden treasures in a way. But yeah, he wanted to put that stuff out. But on the other hand, of course, for me, since I had to go through a lot of things, like he was not a very responsible person, I would say, in terms of that he saw that what he could do in Vienna in terms of insurance or like just getting health security and all that. He didn't do it, and he was an employee, submarine employee at a big theater, and while getting sick, and I had to hide his sickness, go to doctor's appointments, like I went through a whole journey with him at the end of his life, and ending up with his stuff. So for me, it was obvious that, and I directed him before, I did a short film with him, together with Alexei Lapin, who's also DOP here, the film, and he gave me kind of also the torch, or kind of the permission, so that's my, how I just perceived it, to have the right to do that.
How much video was there exactly? Like, how much did you call through to put this movie together?
Well, so the archive is about, I don't know, a lot of, I can't even tell. It's hundreds of minutes actually. You have to pick out really the treasures of it, because it just, as soon as high 8 material came up, he just pushed record. Before that, 8mm stuff is all more, he put more effort to the frames. So then we had myself digging into the whole stories and getting like to know, because for me, Jean was also, even though we were close like many, but getting who is this person actually, what's the past, how is it made, demanded a lot of effort, calls, interviews, etc. So 100 shooting days had actually in total, I would say.
So I can ask everybody one final question. I'm curious, what do you think Sean would say after he watched this? If he was here right now, what do you think of it? What would you think of this movie after you saw it? If you could see it.
Yeah, it's great, but you shouldn't have talked to my brother.
I'm very pleased because Markus really stuck to his guns on this. I saw a very early draft. And one of the things that he retained is Jean DELEAR's life was super psychedelic. He was high all the time. You'd go over to the house, there'd be pills, Valiums, there were always Valiums, there was Clontons, there was always something. And the film really reflects the psychedelic life that Shanti had. The chaotic, what's real, what isn't real, it didn't matter. He would make it real if he said it enough. You know, did he go to high school to Cormula? Of course not. But, you know, that he convinced himself of many things that weren't necessarily true to the narrative, but they make it all sound fantastic and fabulous, so it doesn't matter what's real and what isn't real. And I think the documentary is really true to that, to him in that respect. Especially for those of you who know Sean DELEAR, he was very psychedelic. You know,
Yeah, there was a thin line, of course, too, because he was a very middleman, and I wouldn't say it's, I mean, you can say it's lies or, you know, personal perspective of truth, or I don't know. And so I'm fine with that. And it was just to search or to find a way to communicate that as well in a dignified way, and not to be, I don't know, too judgmental or something. That was a kind of also a task, of course.
Yeah, I think the end product actually does a service and sort of an honor to who he was as a person, and his energy and spirit, and I really appreciate that with something that's more biographical. So thank you. All right, is that you, Brontes?
Oh, Brontes.
Surprise guest Brontes Brunel, everybody.
All right. I have one question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Man,
Hi, Brontes.
hey, what's up? I can't wait to write a review about this for Interview Magazine.
I kiss you for that, of course.
I met Shanti when I was 24. Mike made sure that we met because before that he was the first gay black punk that didn't treat me like I was competing for white dick with him. But also too, with the proliferation of Afro punk, there's so many black punk kids now. And there was, between me and Shanti's generation, there was so few. And there was a part of the interview where like, oh, he never talked about race. But I remember when I met him, he grew up in Simi Valley around a bunch of white people. I grew up in a cotton field with 500 black people, and the first thing I remember asking him when I was fucking high as fuck on coke was like, how the fuck were you around all them racist ass white people? And I remember him being like, race? You know, but you know, it's true, right? But also, he taught me this thing about glamour. Also, I terrified him. I was very manic in my 20s. I terrified him. And he was the first thing that taught me that I could aspire to glamour. What I want to ask you is, can I have the performance footage from my own personal viewing when I want to like jerk off or cry at night?
Of course. Everything, Brontes. Everything you need.
We're playing one of Brontes' shorts on her Boyfriend's mixtape next Thursday in a program called Erotic City Shorts, so come join.
At least there's after party in the Elixir right across the street. Sebastian, please. Sebastian. Yeah.
Give a round of applause for our team for this live show there. Thank you. Thank you. some signs out by the doors that have a QR code to vote for